anyone who can just sum up the part that we had covered day before yesterday? Yes, again, it's Akarshita. Somebody else? Anybody else? Akarshita, you can just start, and if possible, you people, can you just enable your videos?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, over here, what happens in the starting that Franz, he is late to school and he thinks about all the possible things. For example, at that day, the weather was so good, and the main reason that he didn't want to attend school that day was because he haven't learned about the participles that his teacher has told him to do so. And at that day, when he was walking through the hallway of his school, he notices that people have gathered around a bulletin board. Now, the bulletin board
No,
is
what
the
was the reason? Just
place
hold on,
where all
Akarshita. Akarshita, hold on. What was the reason? Why had the people gathered around the bulletin board, and what had been coming, for the last 2 years? What was the news that had been coming from there? Somebody else has to answer, not Akarshita. There are 50 participants here. I need people to participate. Okay, you cannot just sit passively and you cannot just listen to the, this is not a lecture. We have to have an interactive session. So I need, why had the people gathered in front of the bulletin board that day? Somebody else. Raise your hands. Yes, Rashan, you want to respond?
2 years, some battles was coming from there, and those news were like they were losing battles and all that.
Yes, only the bad news, had been coming for the last 2 years because Franco-Prussian War was going on and the years are 1870-71. So Franz just wondered what could be the news that day, but he had no time to stop there and he had no time to wait because he was already late for school. But there was somebody who sarcastically remarked that he had plenty of time. At least Franz thought so, that the remark was made sarcastically. Who was he and what was the remark? Yes. Whatever part we have covered, you have to at least go through it. I had even sent a video if you people were not able to attend the class the other day because you people said there were lots and lots of problems in Meet app. So I had sent a video also to you, and still you people, there is no response from you people. There's no point having a class if I can have only 1 or 2 students responding here. So I can have a class with those 2 students only. I won't have, it would be a hassle-free class that ways. Bolo? Who was the person who remarked that France had plenty of time? Who was he? Speak up.
Ma'am, he was a blacksmith.
Yes, he was a blacksmith. He remarked that there was plenty of time, but Franz didn't have a moment to spare. He was already late for school. As it is, he didn't want to, he didn't feel like going to school because he had not revised participles. Yes, somebody else has to continue from here now. Yes, just continue this, just sum up the rest of the part that we covered on Saturday. Bolo? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Who's going to sum up the part that we covered the other day?
Ma'am, so after that, the bulletin thing, he was remarked like with sarcasm with that by that blacksmith, and after that, he went to the class and he noticed something very different. Usually, the class is very crowded and very clustered, and it's very noisy. And whenever he was late, he just make a cell for himself down there without being noticed. But today, everything was very quiet, and everybody, his classmates, have already taken the seats. Now, he was very embarrassed and he didn't know how to do this thing and how to face this. But as soon as he enters and his teacher sees him, he remarks him with a very polite tone. He
Very
says
gently,
that
very softly. That was quite unlike his teacher, M. Hemmel, who was known to be a very strict teacher. But that day, it was everything like everything. Even the teacher was very different. And, he did not scold him. He remarked very softly, very gently. He just asked him to take his seat. And he just remarked that they were going to start without him. So he took his seat and, not till he had come over his fright. He was frightened because he was embarrassed and he was afraid also because he was late. late, and he had to walk in front of everybody. So he took his seat, and when he had settled down and when he had overcome his fright, then he realized that the teacher had worn, his very, very fancy clothes, embroidered all his green coat, all embroidered clothes, embroidered shirt and everything, which he normally used to wear on prize days or inspection days. So he wondered what could be the special occasion that day. And also he noticed that the class was full. Even the back benches were occupied, and each and every bench was occupied, and even the villagers, the elderly people had come to attend the class. And he could not understand, he could not make out what the reason was. But then the teacher, M. Hemmel, he mounted his chair and he announced. And what was that announcement? The announcement was that that day was going to be their last French lesson. So so that was the announcement that had come from the bulletin board. So these words, it is mentioned in the chapter that these words were like a thunderclap for him. These words struck him like lightning, like thunderstorm. It was a great shock for him. So it was that day that he realized that he had not paid any attention to this, his mother tongue, his French language. And now he realized that he would not be able to learn French anymore, because the order had come from Berlin that from the next day onwards, only German would be taught in the districts of Alsace and Lorraine, which had been occupied by Prussia. So he suddenly developed a kind of fascination. He developed a kind of an affinity for his French language and for his mother tongue. And he was very sad. He was very upset that he would not be able to learn his mother tongue anymore. And he hardly knew how to write it. He hardly knew how to speak it properly. And he developed a fascination for the language, not only for the language, for grammar, for history of saints. He felt there's a line in the text. You have to quote lines in your answers. If you quote lines, some of the important lines, then you get good marks. Okay, so he says that my grammar, my history of the saints, which were till that point of time, they had no value for him. But now suddenly he started feeling that they were like old friends, which he did not want to give up on. Okay, he wanted to have them for a lifetime. So we were on page number, where were we? We were on page number 4, I guess. We were on page number 4 or 5? Page number 5. Yes. So he was even asked by the teacher. He was even asked by the teacher to come up and recite the rules of the participles. And he says, I could have given away my everything to recite those rules without a fumble, without a mistake, without a folly. But he fumbled at the very first word because he had not revised it. So he felt very embarrassed, again ashamed of himself. But the teacher did not scold him. And the teacher said that this is the problem. This is the trouble with the people of Alsace. This is because they keep on postponing things. And I had given you a term for this. What is that term? When you keep on dilly-dallying, when you keep on just postponing things, what is the term for it? What is that term? Yes, it is procrastination. Then there is no tomorrow for them now, because from tomorrow onwards, only German would be taught in the schools, in their school. And the teacher, it was going to be the last lesson and the last day for the teacher. So let me just share the text also with you, because I've kept it on my desktop. See if I can share it. It was an honor for not only the teacher, but also for the language, that the people had gathered there to pay their tributes to their master, to pay their tributes to the language and to the nation, which was the country which was no longer theirs. So he says, your parents were not, he says, you're not the only one to be blamed. We all are to be blamed. For parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on a farm or at the mills so as to have a little more money. And I've been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday? So he says, each and everyone here is to be blamed. Your parents did not value the language much, so therefore they preferred to send you to work, okay, at the farm or at the mills, in order to have some more income, more financial assistance from you people. And even I am also to be blamed. And why is he to be blamed? Because sometimes when he wanted to go fishing, he would give them a day off. And sometimes when he wanted them to water their flowers, he would ask them to do so instead of teaching them. So he says, each and everyone is to be blamed. Then from one thing to another, M. Hamel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language. So you can underline this. This is important. What did he say about his mother tongue, the French language? He says it was the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical, and that we must guard it among us and never forget it. Because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to the language, it is as if they have a key to the prison. Can you explain? Yes, Sishita.
Yes, ma'am. M. Hamel praises their mother tongue. Like he is a French, he belongs to French, so he praises his mother tongue, French language, as being the most beautiful, clearest, and most logical language in the world. So again, and then he tells the class to guard their language, as it is the only way to free oneself from the prison of slavery, because that was their last lesson, and he blamed all of them as a reason why they are lagging behind in their then if a person knows, then he again continue, if a person knows his mother tongue well, no one can enslave him if he knows how to write, how to speak his mother tongue, because mother tongue for everyone is a pride. If you know, if you can speak, if you can write. So and then he again explained that knowing the mother tongue well as a language is a tool to fight the domination. If you
Yes,
know,
very
you
good.
you
Very
can
good, Ishita.
yes,
Very
yes.
good. Aryan, you want to add on something?
Ma'am, I want to add that he mainly says that we have to guard our own identity, our own culture, because if we are ruled by someone else, we will follow their rules and we will become like them. What they will teach us will become like that, we will become like them, and we will not be able to stick to our own true culture. So that is why we need to maintain our true culture. And
It is as if they had the key to their prison. Then he opened a grammar and he read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. All he said seemed so easy, so very easy. I think too that I'd never listened so carefully and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and to put it all into our heads at just one stroke. So he says it was that day that he could understand each and everything of French language so very easily. Till then, he was not able to make out, the P of the participles. He did not even know how to write his own language, how to read his own mother tongue. But that day, he understood each and everything so very easily. And he felt that maybe he had not paid, because he had not valued the language, he had not paid attention to it earlier. That is why he could not understand it. And also, he felt that the teacher had also, that day, the teacher also explained everything so patiently. And it was as if the teacher wanted to give all knowledge he had about the language at just one stroke. Okay, got it? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. That day, M. Hamel had new notebooks for us, written in a beautiful round hand. What had he written there? France, Alsace, France, Alsace. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the rod at the top of our desks. You ought to have seen how everyone sets to work and how quiet it was. The only sound was the scratching of the pens over the paper. Once some beetles also flew in, but nobody paid any attention. So everybody was attentive that day only towards their mother tongue, only towards their language, French. Not even the littlest ones who worked right on tracing their fish hooks as if that was French too. Even the small children, each and everybody was just paying attention towards the French language. See, if the meeting gets over, I'll send you another link, because we have to complete this chapter today. So you need to join that also. Food very low, and I thought to myself, this is very important line. You can underline this. Will they make them sing in? Mute your mics, students. Students, mute your mics. Will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? This is a very, very important line. And what does Franz mean by this? He says that they have acquired our territory, they have acquired our language, they are trying to, the Germans are trying to rule our minds, our hearts. But what would they do to the pigeons? Will they make them coo in German? What does he mean by this? He means to say that your language is innate to you. You cannot just force each and everything upon the people. It comes naturally to you. Just like cooing is for the pigeons, similarly language is, mother tongue is for the individuals. You cannot snatch anybody's mother tongue from them. Okay, so underline it. It is very, very important. So he says, whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw M. Hemmel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing and then at another, as if he wanted to fix in his mind just how everything looked in that little classroom. Fancy, for 40 years he had been there in the same place with his garden outside the window and his class in front of him, just like that. So he had given 40 years of selfless service, of 40 years of faithful service to this school, to this institution, and he just wanted to keep it in his mind, for memories. He just wanted to take it with him. So he says, only the desks and benches had been worn smooth, the walnut trees in the garden were taller, and the hopvine that he had planted himself twined about the windows. So otherwise each and everything, the plants had grown taller, the trees had grown taller, but otherwise each and everything was the same. Okay, this is what he means to say. Then he says, Milanpreet is trying to enter now. How it must have broken his heart to leave it all. Poor man, to hear his sister moving about in the room above, packing their trunks. So he was staying in the same institution, at the top floor, at the first floor, he had his room, and where his sister was packing the things, for they must leave the country the next day. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. So after the writing session, we had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their bee, bee, bo, bow. Down there at the back of the room, old Hauser, who was Hauser? He had brought in the primer, and the primer was just scrawled on his knees. He was not able to make out what it read, how it read, because he was not proficient like many of the others in their mother tongue. He had put on his spectacles, and holding his primer, he spelled the letters with him. You could see that he too was crying. The old Hauser was crying too. His voice trembled with emotion, and it was so funny to hear him that we all wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. Why did they want to laugh, and why did they want to cry? Yes, speak up.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so they wanted to laugh at the same time. Firstly, they wanted to laugh because how the old person was speaking and how his tone was, and there was an aroma of laughter in the atmosphere. And secondly, they wanted to cry because it was the last lesson, and from tomorrow onwards, it won't happen anymore.
Yes,
And
it was their last lesson. They won't be able to learn their French language anymore. All at once, the church clock struck 12, then the Angelus. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians returning from drill sounded under our windows. M. Hemmel just stood up, very pale, in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. He wanted to say so much, but he could not. Something choked him. He started with my friends, I, but he could not go on. He could not carry on with his words even. Then he turned to the blackboard, and what did he do? He just took a piece of chalk, and bearing on with all his strength, all his might, he just wrote as large as he could, Vive la France. That means long live France. So this is what he wrote in bold letters on the blackboard. Okay, so this was it that he wrote. Then he just stopped, and he just leaned his head against the wall, and without uttering a single word, he just made a gesture. With a gesture, he just asked us to go, and he said, school is dismissed, you may leave, you may go. So this was the last lesson by their French teacher, M. Hemmel. Okay, so we are going to start continue with the questions also of this chapter, and then I'll put an assignment in your classroom app, and you have to submit it there. But it is very important for you people to write your names in the comments. You have to write your names, your class, your section, and your roll number. For example, there was one child who